Okay, guys, let's review before we have our quiz. This is going to be on multiplying and dividing polynomials and all operations with radicals. So our first question is we have two binomials being multiplied, so we're going to double distribute. So we're going to multiply 2x times 3x to give us 6x squared, and then the 2x is multiplied by the second term, and that gives us plus 8x. Now we need to distribute the positive 5, so we get positive 15x, and then 5 times positive 4 is 20. Now we're always going to be able to combine the two middle terms if we do it in this order, and we get 6x squared plus 23x plus 20. Now on the quiz, you'll be typing in these answers. So first let's classify by degree. So this is a quadratic, and it's a trinomial. So make sure you type it in that order. Then we are going to identify the coefficient of the quadratic. So all I want is the number. So the quadratic term, the coefficient is 6. The coefficient for my linear term is positive 23. So just type in 23. And then my constant is positive 20. Okay, we have another binomial times binomial. So we are going to double distribute again. So I'm going to multiply 2x times 2x, and we get 4x squared. And then 2x times positive 6 is plus 12x. Now we're going to distribute the negative 6, and we get minus 12x. And then we have a negative 36. So you can see that our two linear terms are canceled. So we have 4x squared minus 36. So this is a quadratic because we have a highest exponent of 2, and it's a binomial. We have two terms. Okay, the quadratic term, the coefficient of the quadratic is 4. The coefficient of our linear term is 0, and our constant is negative 36. Now, when we do a binomial times itself, you must expand this. You cannot just square each of these terms. You will not get the right answer. So we have 7x times 7x is 49x squared. 7x times negative 3 is negative 21x. Then we're going to distribute the negative 3. We get negative 21x. And then negative times negative is a positive 9. So we're going to have 49x squared minus 42x plus 9. We have a quadratic because of our exponent of 2, trinomial because we have 3 terms. The coefficient of our quadratic term is 49. The coefficient of our linear term is negative 42, and our constant is 9. Now we are dividing, and remember, when we're dividing by a monomial, if you start out with a trinomial, you will end with a trinomial. Nothing's going to cancel out. Okay, so we are going to divide. I have negative 12x to the third divided by 4x. That gives me negative 3x squared. Then I have negative 20x squared divided by 4x. I get negative 5x. And then I have plus 4x divided by itself is 1. So I still have a trinomial. This is a quadratic trinomial. Then we are going to identify the coefficient of the first term. So I have negative 3. My second term is negative 5. And the coefficient of my third term is positive 1. So here you're just identifying again the coefficient of each term. Now we're going to simplify. We have radicals. Remember, you can't have a radical in the denominator. So before you think about rationalizing the denominator, first see if your coefficient, or see if your numerical radicands can divide, and they can. So we can make it look like this. If this does help you see it a little bit better. So my numerical radicands can divide nicely, and I still have a radical. And then I'm going to apply the quotient rule, and I have 8 to the second. So now I no longer have a radical in the denominator, and the only thing I need to simplify is the a squared. So my final answer is a radical 3. So always see if these factors can divide, as long as they're all the same type of number or expression, such as either a coefficient on the outside or a radicand on the inside. Okay, here let's divide, because 8 can go into 80 and 3 can go into 12. So that gives us 4 radical 10. Then we ask ourselves if 10 can be simplified more, and it cannot, so you are done. Here we have 4 expressions, and there may be some that are not totally simplified. So let's go through and check this. So here we have 12 radical 2 over 4. The radicand is simplified, but look, our fraction, our coefficient can simplify to 3 radical 2. So you even have to check the fraction part, your coefficient, to see if it is reduced to, just like you learned like in 5th grade how to reduce or simplify fractions. In our second example, 5 is simplified and 3 is simplified, but look guys, you can't have a radical in the denominator, so we're going to rationalize, which means make a fraction, and we're going to use the denominator, so rationalize the denominator is the process, and we get 2 radical 15 over radical 9. Of course, 9 is perfect because that was the purpose. So we're going to get 2 radical 15 over 3. So our coefficient is 2/3. Our radicand is 15. In this next example, 8's not a radical, so that's good. 3 over 8 cannot simplify anymore. But look, we have this a squared. So we should have 3a radical 2 over 8. So our coefficient is 3a over 8. You could say 8 times a, or we could say 3a over 8. That's your coefficient. In this last one, 2 over 3 is simplified. The a is simplified, but 8 is not. We can break down 8 into 4 times 2. So we're going to take the square root of 4, which is 2, times the already existing coefficient 2. So we get 4 radical a over 3. Now they are all simplified. Let's find perimeter. Remember, perimeter is distance around. So this side and this side are equivalent, and then these two ends are equivalent. So we're going to have 3 radical 2 plus another 3 radical 2 plus radical 8 plus radical 8. Let's simplify the radical 8s into 4 times 2. So that's 2 radical 2 plus 2 radical 2. So now remember, just like with fractions, we have to have the same radicand, and we don't add those, we just bring it over. And now we're just adding 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8, plus another 2 is 10. So we have 10 radical 2 for the perimeter. Now area is, so let's put P up here. So area is going to be 3 radical 2 times 1 radical 8. So 3 times the understood 1 is 3. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 is perfect. The square root of 16 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So we don't have a radical left at all because 16 was perfect. Let's combine and then simplify. So we have 3 radical 2 minus, we can break down 8 into the 4 times 2. 3 radical 2 minus, the square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 7 is 14. Radical 2, again, just like fractions, when you add and subtract, you do not add or subtract the radicands, you just bring it over. So the coefficient is 3 minus 14, that's negative 11, radical 2. I hope this helps, and good luck on the quiz.